Well, after failing completely in my last couple of saves, I decided that it was probably time to go back to the world of Football Manager tactics, take a closer look to see what's out there and see what we can come up with. And I'll tell you something that's a little bit strange about it. It looks like, as usual, all of the tactics that are proven to work tend to do the same thing. Now, I actually had an argument with somebody the other day online about this, and there are people who will say that, well, if you have the right players, you can get a different style of tactic to work. Perhaps, but let's go take a look and see what kind of tactics are popular and what we have to choose from. So first place that we go, I think, is pretty obvious. We can look at the KNAP tactics over on the official forum. If you haven't seen this before, this is in the tactics, training, and strategic discussion part of the forum. Go over to Sports Interactive's community forums. You can go over to the tactics sharing center and check out this huge thread, probably the biggest thread on the official forums. It's 715 pages and growing. Not really organized that well. It's not really designed to be organized well. The thing you want to do is you want to look at the Google Sheets document, which is here. We're looking at, this is Football Manager 2024. We're just going to look at some of the top tactics judged by the score. So I talked about this a little bit in the past. We can talk about this maybe a little bit more. It's not enough to just like take a tactic, throw it into your save, and figure that you're testing it. These are all tested in environments that are designed to try to keep other outside influences and other potential variables like constant, so that we can test the tactics against each other and see what works the best. We'll take a look here at the first one, which is this Heartbreaker tactic. Now, you'll see right away, oh, here we go. It actually popped up this time. How about that? I was going to say you'll see it'll take us to a weird part of the page, but it doesn't. And when we look close at this, we see a lot of the same things that we see in other tactics. Most notably, what we see here is counter press, which you will see in all of these tactics. Now, maybe some will have a high defensive line, some have a low line, some have a high press, some have a low press. Does that really matter so much? Well, it doesn't look like it. A lot of these have sort of the same things in common in terms of possession. Mentality for this one is very attacking, which is interesting because usually the at least in FM23, sort of the conventional wisdom is that a balanced mentality gives you kind of the best of both worlds. But this is, of course, very much a gegenpress tactic. There's no question about it. We'll look at the second one. I haven't even looked at this ahead of time. We'll take a look at this and see if it has any similarities. And, oh, look at this. We see, once again, the counter and counter press combination. This one has maybe shorter passing, low crosses. I mean, but as I've said before, I mean, is that really making a huge difference in terms of how the game is played? A lot of these things on the left side are kind of like just little levers that you can maybe nudge a little bit. What you're not seeing here is a tactic that doesn't have gegenpress on. All of these do. They're all high-intensity tactics. You're not seeing a tactic that doesn't have countering. This is despite the fact that Sports Interactive said, I think it was before FM23 came out, that they were going to nerf gegenpress so that you couldn't just run the same strategy over and over again and win. Here's the third one on the list, and look at this, counter press, shorter passing, lower crosses, also focusing play down the left and right. I mean, whether you're doing underlaps or overlaps or nothing, I mean, whatever. It's, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there. I don't know. It's still basically the same type of tactic, right? You can call it a custom tiki-taka, but it's not really a tiki-taka. It's a gegenpress tactic. That's the problem. The more we go down this list, especially at tactics that have been proven to work in testing environments, the more we're going to see that. Now, it's not only about the official forums, right? We can also take a look at FM Arena, which I recommend doing. When you get here, you want to go over here to tables. Tables will show you all of the different types of tactics that are out there in this type of tactical testing environment. I believe that FM Arena actually uses more matches than KNAP does to test these tactics out. I consider these probably to be the best in terms of scientifically proven tactics. So we'll look at a couple. I have one opened up already here. Box Levante X Pirate 2, which when we look at this one closely is also a counter press tactic with a lot of the same instructions that we had before. Now, you'll notice this has a positive mentality, so there's a little bit of kind of messing around with the mentality and see what happens. This is, of course, for the most recent match engine, and this is after a little bit over 400,000 simulated matches. I'm not doing this myself, right? I'm not going to sit down and have my computer run a certain tactic for 4,000 matches trying to hold everything else equal. I mean, that's crazy. We'll look at another one here, 4222 clean box. Which, look at this, it's the same shape. Imagine that, and it also has a lot of the very same instructions. That's kind of the point, which is that really, no matter what we look at and no matter what the shape is, you're going to see the same basic tactic type. You're going to see the same intensity level. You're going to see the same basic philosophy, right? Every single tactic has the same thing. In fact, if you watch the Hollum save, which unfortunately ended quickly because I got frustrated at the world of semi-pro finances, what you'll notice is that we started doing better once we changed some of these instructions to some of the same things you see in all of these tactics. When we just changed the instructions, we didn't even change the shape, we didn't change who was playing what position, we didn't change any of the rest of it, we just changed the instructions. All of a sudden, the tactic does really well, and our players look like they know how to play. We didn't win, but we did a lot better. Now, you might argue that there are other types of tactics that are possible, and I know you see this a lot here on FM Scout, at least, which thankfully will tell us the philosophy of play. But the interesting thing is that when you look into some of these tactics, you realize that this philosophy is actually incorrect. For example, the Fark's Fantastic 4-2-3-1 with 230-plus goals, you look at this and think, from a counter tactic, that's incredible, until you look closely at the tactic and you realize that it's actually a gegenpress tactic with high intensity, right? Once again, it's a problem, right? It's the same type of tactic time and time again. And I looked at one while I was preparing for this. I think it was this one right here that's supposedly a total football tactic. I can't tell you too much about it because the screenshots don't show me any information. You can go on, you can watch the guy's video. Heck, you can sign up for his Patreon and get to know more about his tactic and how he does things. But the problem with this comes when you look at the comments, right? So currently on a 15-game losing streak with Ren with this tactic, leaving way too much space behind. Yep, that's a problem. Use this tactic to help me with my struggling promotion bid with Rotherham United in the championship. Predicted to finish 24th in the playoffs by Christmas, but my tactic has been found out by the AI and I lost 6 straight and looked terrible. Yeah, this is an issue. Now, we had some success after a little while, but there's some problems with the tactic. There's a lot of stuff to unpack here. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. One thing is for certain, though, and we know this after a lot of testing. Football Manager's AI doesn't discover your tactic. It doesn't find you out. It's not that smart. It's not that capable, all right? So stop thinking about things like that. The unfortunate truth about tactics in Football Manager is that it is a problem that can be solved. In other words, you can come up with all sorts of different ideas about tactics. You can come up with different shapes. You can try different things out. And if you have good enough players, different tactical styles may work. But you're dealing with random number generation, and you're dealing with the fact that the truth is that the game is designed so that a very specific type of tactical play works. That's the problem in Football Manager. And if you don't believe it, go take a look for yourself, especially at those who actually play through like thousands of matches with tactics to test this stuff out. Over time, a certain tactical approach will always work, and it just so happens to be the gegenpress style. That's the reason why everybody uses it. That's the reason why everybody plays with it. You can give yourself a disadvantage. You can try to play park the bus with a team and try to make it work. But why? Why would you do that to yourself, right? I mean, you could theoretically win with it if your players are good enough, but it's kind of odd to play a game and give yourself a major disadvantage like that for the purpose of whatever it is you're trying to do. Anyway, there you have it. It's all about the gegenpress tactic. That's unfortunately the way the Football Manager works, and I do think it's a problem. Talk with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.